thank you all for joining us. I know it's been a full week of different events on disruptive innovation. I think I'm the last person to bring an event to the campus, so happy to be here. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Professor Mike Rantanetti. I've been teaching at Holt for about 8 years. Very quick on my background: engineer, MBA, McKinsey, and then 8 venture capital-backed startups, all enterprise tech, and then teaching at MIT, and now leading the Rutgers University program on disruptive innovation at the exec ed level. So innovation is my passion. It's what I love. And I'm excited about sharing a little bit about it with you. In a few minutes, I'm going to introduce our expert panelist, Susan Ettlinger, but I want to set the context first for our discussion. And I know when I ask students, how many of you are intimidated by artificial intelligence, most students raise their hands. And then what I wind up doing is I wind up saying, well, maybe you shouldn't be so intimidated because we've been, for whatever reason, interacting with AI-based algorithms and tools for a very long time, whether it be the Google search engine, whether it be something we all probably see every day on Amazon, which is recommendation engines, predictive analytics. How many of you have a Netflix account? Okay. Netflix has done an extraordinary job, completely antithetical to the way that all great Hollywood content is produced, because most Hollywood content is based on gut instinct and checking with a focus group of a relatively small audience. Our friends at Netflix have identified 260 cluster groups, and they have deep knowledge of each of those cluster groups and their taste, and they're able to predict more and more accurately what kind of content that they actually want to watch. And so Netflix likes to say, my Netflix is not your Netflix. So when I log on, I see 50 tiles or 50 pieces of poster art, but what you see is something very different. And so Netflix knows me probably better than my family knows me. They know exactly what I like to watch and how I like to watch it. And what they do very differently is they don't try to promote all of their content to all of their 110 million subscribers. They only want to promote content that's relevant to a taste cluster. So they've done a remarkable job of redefining, and this is why they've been so successful so quickly. Okay? And when you think about machine learning, Facebook is a great example in terms of their ability to say, okay, if you are liking certain posts by someone fairly regularly, then more than likely, you're going to want to spend more time, so you're going to see more and more of them in your social feed. Okay? And although Siri has dramatically fallen behind Alexa, it's something that most of us got introduced to a long time ago with the virtual assistant. Right? And then, of course, this thing has just taken off like a rocket over the last couple of years. We're going to talk about this, but there's a lot of sort of nuanced discussion around Alexa that we'll have a talk about with Susan. Okay? And of course, image recognition and tagging you, right? You guys are, I don't know how much time you spend tagging yourselves on Facebook and Instagram, Snapchat, but more than is healthy, I would say. Okay. All right. And then of course, robotics and autonomous vehicles and drones. And for those of you who are in my class on Saturday and Sunday morning, we're going to have a full 4-hour session on the future of transportation and mobility. And we're going to have some really interesting guest speakers that are going to be joining us, both from Munich, Germany, from MIT, as well as in the classroom. So if you're interested in this, and you are either in the industry or want to work in the industry, let me know. I'd be happy to have you join the class. Okay? Great. All right. Now, I am a lot older than most of you in the room, and so I've been in the tech industry for a very long time. And I can tell you that AI is something that really began being researched in the 1950s. And as far back as the 1980s, I was working at Hewlett-Packard in Silicon Valley. We had 450 engineers working on AI at the time. Okay? It just wasn't ready for prime time. Okay? It's taken us to get to this point, really, for AI to be proven to be useful across a broad range of different business applications. So, not surprisingly, Jeff Bezos has, as Reed Hastings says, his Netflix, done a brilliant job of incorporating all kinds of advanced technologies, including AI, into the business model. This is a $176 billion company growing like a startup. Okay? And the next few slides I'll show come from the 451 research. M&A event I attended a couple of weeks ago, showing that we're getting some real traction now in artificial intelligence in the world of business. So 1 in 6 companies is already deploying machine learning, and machine learning is just sort of the suitcase term to describe all the things that we're talking about today. Okay? Another 19% are developing machine learning capabilities within their business. Another 12% are planning to use it within this year. And so three times the current state of where we are in a year. Okay? So we have hit the inflection point on the curve. And I know as a point of comparison, a lot of you are very excited about blockchain. Okay? And I know a lot of you are either trying to work in blockchain startups or you're getting very actively involved in blockchain. Right? Blockchain will take a very long time to evolve and become practical in the way that AI is today, right? Because AI has had a 50-year head start. So for those of you who are saying, let's see, where do I put my time? Do I go into blockchain? Well, that is going to be a long gestation period, right? That's going to be a multiple decade gestation period. This is a far more productive place to invest your time if this is the industry that you want to be in on the bleeding edge of technology. What's really great, and one of the things Susan and I are going to get into, because there's some very dystopian views about AI and all of the negative implications that we've heard from Steve Hawking and we've heard from Elon Musk and a lot of other doomsayers. But from a business point of view, right, we're here to business school. The single most important benefit from machine learning is about creating a competitive advantage. Okay, this is exactly what Netflix has done. This is why Netflix has came out of nowhere in a cold start to begin winning more Emmy Awards than HBO, that's been around for 30 years, and why they've been able to win Academy Awards even though they're the newbies in Hollywood. Some of these studios have been around over 100 years. Okay, and Amazon the same. Improving the customer experience is another important benefit, and for so many of you in the room who work in the world of sales and marketing, you'll really begin to see the benefits of this. In my current startup, we actually piloted the use of an artificial engine tool to allow us to do a better job of mining through customer prospects and setting up meetings much more effectively than our inside sales team could do, just as one small proof point. Okay? But not surprisingly, there is an incredible lack of skills that exist today. And if you are a skilled PhD with a data science background, the phrase that I've heard that I love is that they get paid the equivalent of a second or third string National Football League quarterback. Okay? Some of these salaries can be in the 7 figures, which is amazing. And this is not just a US issue, this is a global issue. Okay? So the M&A outlook, when you talk to corporate executives about their plans, do they want to do more acquisitions? They're going to do the same or less. Not surprisingly, AI is at the very top of the list. And not surprisingly, the deal volume on artificial intelligence M&A has started to grow exponentially. So we're moving from a world where we're doing less than a handful in 2010, 2011, to now we're going to do 140, 150 M&A deals this year. Of course, these are the deals that make venture capitalists and founders and entrepreneurs very wealthy. And so we're seeing a huge appetite for startups today that are engaged in the business of providing some kind of useful application around AI and deep learning. Okay? And the various types of applications, specifically business analytics is number 1, almost a third, sales and marketing number 2, and then security number 3. This is where, at least today, businesses are employing the utility of AI most effectively. Okay? So just a couple of quick companies that you might be able to relate to. This one was at the VentureBeat Summit recently. What they basically do is they use artificial intelligence to peer into the conversations that inside salespeople are having with their prospects. And not surprisingly, you've got a bell distribution curve of prospects that are either, of inside salespeople that are either very skilled and very competent, or those that are far less so. And what they've been able to do is they're able to identify through the analysis of their voice recordings which sales reps are saying the right things, who are positioning the company in the most effective way, who are the salespeople that understand how to communicate in a way that leads to higher sales. And then they're also identifying the people at the bottom of that bell distribution curve, and they're using this as a way to level up their skills to improve the productivity of their sales force. Okay? And they're seeing a dramatic improvement in execution. They're increasing conversions from 15 to 35%. They're onboarding much more quickly, 50 to 70% less onboarding time than before, and much more faster time to action. So if a competitor has lowered its price, or new market entry has happened, or something has happened in the market that will have a detrimental effect on their business, they have a 60 to 80% quicker response time. Okay, and here we are, fairly soon in, and they've already got 300 paying customers, and they've raised nearly 30 million in venture cap. This is a very practical application of artificial intelligence. And then, obviously, for all of you in the room who are here to level up your skills and are either already looking for a full-time job post-Holt or thinking hard about it, Indeed.com, I know that my students savaged this company in both of my classes. I didn't get the sense that not a single one of my students felt very positive about their interactions with Indeed.com, but they did acquire an artificial intelligence company last year. This guy on the right, very, very impressive, and they're really trying to apply AI to create much higher levels of matching. And so AI technology continues to improve the relevance of jobs shown in job searches, right? And we're going to see more and more of this as well. So these are just some very basic examples of where AI is being applied. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Susan Ettinger. I could spend the next 20 minutes talking about Susan's background, but I'm going to keep it pretty quick. Susan gave a TED Talk on the ethics of AI that was viewed over 1.25 million times. Okay? Very few people can claim to have that level of virality, right? So she's clearly got something to say. She's someone who has given talks all over the world on ethics and AI, and she's working at the Altinder Group here in San Francisco, which is part of Profit, which is a digital ad agency. But the Altinder Group was a pioneer, early thought leader around social media with one of her colleagues, Charlene Lee. So it gives me great pleasure to ask Susan to join me on stage now. Thank you so much.